What is the worst example of rich people problems you have seen? I worked for a gal who had a speaker go out in her Ferrari, and she refused to drive any further under those circumstances, so she pulled over to wait for one of her house staff to bring her the Porsche. True story. I observed something similar. A guy had to pull over with his Lamborghini because of bird dung right on the center of the windshield. He didn't know how the windshield wiper works. I've seen it claimed that supercars often have terrible switch positioning. Maybe he just forgot to look under the passenger seat for the wiper control? Had a former friend who went into despair because Hurricane Sandy flooded her living room of her childhood home. Told everyone she was homeless now, and she knew what it felt like to lose everything the way her Jewish ancestors did in World War II. Thing is, she had an apartment she lived in on the island. Her parents owned several more vacation homes up and down the coast. They were a little inconvenienced maybe, but far from homeless. One guy I know on the island lost a boat during Sandy but ended up finding a different one in the middle of his house. See? When God closes a door, He opens a boat in your living room. My rich aunt doesn't let us park in front of her house because it makes her mansion look bad. She should buy you guys new cars so that it won't look bad when you park there. Now that's what I call being part of the solution. A person I know only drinks Evian or Voss water because he is allergic to tap. Edit. I am not ripping on him for not drinking tap, but for only drinking what is regarded as luxury water. I heard tap water has, like, 3 times more gluten than bottled water. My yoga instructor says gluten is really bad for your core. I talked to my astrologer about it, and she said the only thing I can do about it is give her some hairs from my pet liger, an egg from my ostrich, and $1,000, and she will take care of it. Phew, that was close. Like, don't even get me started. The beach traffic was so bad today I was late to my tanning appointment, and they gave my spot to that bitch Crystal. I actually had to go home and lay out by my pool, and I totally couldn't relax because all those little seed pods kept falling off the palm trees into the jacuzzi. Toad suckage, you know? Complaining about your allowance from your daddy at age 30, which is the rough equivalent of 2 average salaries. Or complaining that your dad bought you a used car instead of a new one when you were 21, he only spent $10K. The girl could have been thankful that he even bought her a car. As entitled and bratty as that is, a car is a one-time purchase. After receiving a $5,000 a month allowance for more than a decade, well, you do the math. $5,000 a fucking month? Excuse me while I sit here and reevaluate my life. My rich friend has had to respray his car multiple times because a peacock on his land keeps seeing his reflection in it and attacking it like crazy. My neighbor had peacocks when I was growing up. We had a shitty above-ground pool, and the stupid birds would come over, stand on the edge, scream, and poop. Usually at 3 a.m. When I was in high school, my family was pretty poor, and I had a fairly rich friend. My single dad spent years saving up for us to go to Disneyland. We finally went when I was 16. Fast forward a year, my friend is going to Disneyland for Halloween break. Her dad told her to invite 2 friends. So she invited me and another girl. I was freaking stoked. But she kept saying, I don't know, it's probably going to be boring. My grandma takes me to Disneyland like every break. And when we got there, all she wanted to do was sit on benches and text. All of the rides were boring, and she'd already been on them dozens of times. It ended up being pretty boring for me because I didn't want to go on the rides without her. I knew someone who traded in his Porsche and bought a new one every year. His parents were wealthy, died when he was in his teens, and left him a multi-million-dollar trust fund. What was sad was that he felt that he couldn't pick up women without flashing his cash and expensive sports car, but he would dump them all in a couple of weeks because they were only into me for my money. Loneliest guy I ever met. Edit. He is not Batman. His parents died in a car accident, and his butler's name is Davin, not Alfred. Local billionaire Paul Allen wanted to put a helicopter landing pad at his waterfront compound on Mercer Island several years ago, but the city said no. So Paul Allen had a custom-made helicopter landing pad ship built that motors out 100 yards into the lake beyond the city's jurisdiction whenever Paul wants to take off or land via helicopter. Zoning regulations are for normies. When you're so rich that you can piss off other rich people by being creative, that's style points. Watch The Queen of Versailles. It's riveting. and all about rich people problems. And it's not about Marie Antoinette, as the title would suggest. It's a documentary about a ridiculously rich family before and during the Great Recession and the effect that the housing crisis had on them. My favorite was when she was at Hertz Rent-A-Car and asked the front desk guy who her driver's name was. The look on his face was priceless. Or when they interview one of the older children. The child responds that she may actually have to go to college, and appears to physically shudder. They bought a new yacht because the wife didn't like the beds. They bought a new yacht because the old one had ants, and they couldn't find the hive. This one is a little more understandable. Fuck ants, I would have set the thing on fire. I saw a guy on Instagram who couldn't wait for a car he custom ordered, so he went and bought one from the dealer while he waited for the custom one. I've heard of this more than once. Custom orders on high-end cars can take a long time, 6 months, a year, maybe more. Sometimes the dealer will throw in a cheap lease of a stock model until the custom build is delivered. Has to buy up all of the surrounding plots of land to get some privacy. I had to help a girl pay her tuition bill. She was upset because she genuinely thought the process of putting in credit card information was difficult. Yes, she took her dad's credit card and paid $20,000 for the semester like it was buying a stick of gum. Superyacht docked in Italy at a high-end marina. Owners wanted the bottled Perrier water for a party they were having in a day or two. They wanted the marina to supply them with a pallet of said water. Marina said it was against policy for them to get a pallet of water to their boat. So they get a private jet from America to fly in a pallet of said water and get it dropped to the boat. Price was about $28,000 as far as I remember. But even that amount seems low for that. My friend wants to marry her boyfriend. They're going to school in America but are both from China. Her Beijing, him near Shanghai-ish. They both pay $60,000 a year to go to high school here. However, she can't marry him because his family only owns 2 houses in Hangzhou, whereas hers owns 7 in Beijing. Rich people problems in China are all sorts of fun, from what I hear. For one, it's getting harder to find someone to pretend to be you and go to prison in your place after you mow someone down with your Porsche. Dingzui is the Chinese practice of hiring imposters or body doubles to stand trial and receive punishment in one's place. The term translates as substitute criminal, and is reported to be a relatively common practice among China's wealthy elite. I'm a nanny for a rich family. A few examples. When I get paid in cash, my boss says, "Man, now I'm gonna have to go all the way to the bank to get more cash." When they travel, they prefer 2-bedroom suites. One time they could only get a 1-bedroom, and he said, "Well, that just ruins the whole trip. My car got broken into and I mentioned it felt so awful to drive and knowing someone was in it." His idea of empathizing? That happened to me. I had to buy a new 1-inch. I work at a place where I interact with a lot of rich people. I have come into contacts with lots of rich people problems. Here are a few I've witnessed. 1. 14-year-old kid looking despondent, and I asked him what was wrong. He replied, "We're going to Paris, again. I hate it. It's so boring." 2. Mom's talking. "I took her to her little friend's birthday party, but I didn't know what to bring. Do kids like Prada handbags still? I have no idea." 3. Ladies talking. "What are you guys doing this summer?" Second mom replies, "Oh, nothing. Last summer was crazy busy, so this summer we are taking it easy. We are spending 1 week in London and 1 week in Hawaii. But other than that, nothing. We are relaxing this summer." 4. Ladies talking. "They can be expensive, but buying nicer cars like Porsches and Mercedes is worth it. We had a GMC once, and we only drove it for like 4 years and we had to have something fixed. And it just felt old." There are many more, but those are a few. I live in the part of my country where internet is really expensive. 16 megabits per second plans are considered plans for extremely rich people. One fine day, one of my friends threw a fit at his dad because he was getting 15 megabits per second instead of 16 for like an hour. Holy shit, dude, I live on a 2 megabits per second connection, which turns into a 512 kbps connection after a 30 GB data cap. I just moved to a 50 megabits per second from a 2 megabits per second. Life is not the same anymore. My aunt. "I would wear the Rolex that uncle got me more, but it's gold, and I only wear silver." A cousin of mine is on his 3rd Porsche 911 after he wrecked the first 2. He told me that his parents said if he destroyed it again, they'd buy him some other car. He wrecked the first one while drunk, and he somehow didn't injure anyone. I don't even think he got charged with a DUI. Edit, 2 more. My family usually charters our own plane whenever we go on vacation. It costs something like $6,000 per hour or something. One year the company overcharged my dad for a minuscule amount. I think it was like $1,000. And he was considering disputing the charge or something, ignoring the fact that $1,000 is nothing to us, and he already paid $36,000 for a flight. Oh, and my parents hate tipping the pizza guy for some reason. They have no problem tipping a waiter 50% or even 100% at a fancy restaurant. But the pizza delivery man? Fuck that. My neighbor is this really down-to-earth guy who managed to work his way from nothing to being quite wealthy. He has his own company and pulls in north of $200,000 per year. A few years ago, he married this beautiful brunette that can safely be said to be on the upper scale of maintenance costs. She was given perhaps too much freedom when they redecorated their mansion, and ordered custom-made stairs that cost about $100,000, which were made of glass steel. Once she had them installed, though, she noticed that they didn't really match her choice in furniture, so she had a virtually identical set of stairs made that only differed from the last set by a few shades of white. How this guy puts up with her bullshit is beyond me. $200,000 a year is not mansions and $100,000 stairs rich though. He had that in 2007. I don't know how much he makes now other than that it is more. $200,000 a year is not any kind of rich. It's, we can afford a house that's big enough for our family, pay for college at a state university out of pocket, drive a semi-nice car, pay for all the stupid shit that a family in America is supposed to be able to pay for, and actually save for retirement territory. Upper middle class, sure, but not rich. Rich is, if one of us gets cancer and the insurance won't pay because they don't think the treatment is appropriate, we don't have to choose between an agonizing death and financial ruin. Wife is a flight attendant. Wife, what would you like to drink? Passenger, I'll have a water, wait. Where is your water from? Wife, what? Passenger, what country is your water from? I only drink water from France. I was pumping gas in a rather dicey neighborhood at a cheap gas station, and this older woman pulls up in her Bentley. She pulls up on the pump ahead of me and cracks her window slightly, and asks me for help. I ask her what she needs. She asked me to pump her gas cause she was too scared to do it herself. I asked her what type of gas she wanted and she said the cheapest. I asked her if she was sure, with such a high-end car, did she really want to put in budget gas? She said it didn't matter since she could easily afford any new car she wanted. So I insert my debit card and she hands me a $100 bill and says keep the change. I fill up her tank in my own 12-gallon Honda Civic tank and made about $30 in from the change. I finish up at the gas station and jump on the freeway to see my girlfriend at the time, and I am going the same way as this woman. I get off at the same exit as her. She is making a right to an affluent area and I am making a left off the exit to a less nicer area. She rolls down the window and yells at me. I thought you were following me. I am so sorry, where are you heading? I told her to which neighborhood I am heading to. She gives an awkward smile and says I will tell the dispatcher that you are not following me and that I am not fearing for my life. Bitch called the cops on me thinking I was following her to rob her. I ended up getting to my destination chill with my girlfriend and didn't get pulled over. I work at a hotel and whenever I valet a Rolls Royce or Bentley I just think of this old lady. What is the worst example of rich people problems you have seen? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.